winning the attention war, we have the need to get in front of people where they're at, and the world is changing. So we've got more and more people leveraging AI to get information, and AI is leveraging video to be able to give information to consumers. So we're going to go through this pretty quickly because I've just lost a couple of minutes here. But the big key is why you're here. Why you're here is that we have a changing world. We have people that don't want to read information. And there's a ton of written content out there. Some of the quality of that content's not quite where it needs to be. And we want to make sure that the time that we spend building content and creating connections to our audience is something that's going to resonate with them and have a long shelf life. And that's something that video does for us. As we talk about our ability to ensure that our message is retained, video is going to be another element that is in our favor, because as people consume shorter amounts of content or spend less time on content, they're going to remember it, hopefully, if it's video, or they may forget it, which is often what happens with text. So we'll talk about some of those problems and challenges, and we will go right into this today because I want to make sure that you guys get the most out of your time. So first and foremost, we're going to talk about a number of different things, but I'm going to go ahead and skip past this slide so that we can get into the thick of it. But stick around to the end because I do have some really good bonus content for you guys, as well as an opportunity to get a free consultation with a lot of goodies. So stick around to the end. Very first thing that I want to go over is the real reason why this matters so much today, and the reason why we've put so much time and energy into this presentation. The very first thing that you see there, 5 billion video views a day on YouTube. That's how many individual video views are played on YouTube. And that's not just on the YouTube platform, but that's anywhere a YouTube video might be embedded. And that includes inside of your AI overviews in ChatGPT and in all the other tools like Perplexity. Additionally, we have 6,000 ads a day. That's how many ads that we're all exposed to, whether we actually see them, retain them, remember them. That's a whole nother story. I promise you 6,000 ads is not what you remember. But with that much information coming into our brains, we have to be able to break through the noise. And this is what the attention war is all about. In 2024, a really important statistic that fuels a lot of the work that we've done here is 60% of Google searches in 2024 resulted in no clicks whatsoever. So those people, they did a search, they got the information from the search results page, but they did not click on a website. Some of that is because of the advent of AI and how we have seen AI overviews grow in search results, but some of it's just due to the behavior of consumers getting the information off the search results page and not necessarily needing to click into the result to get the depth of the information. So that's all changing, and we're going to continue to see those things change as we move into the future, and we're going to see these numbers grow. So I promised you guys that we were going to get into the digital marketing math problem, and the reality here, I think a lot of folks believe that marketing is a creative problem. And while there certainly is a need for us to communicate with our audience and be able to connect with them in a meaningful way and drive emotion and actually have them behave in a certain way that benefits them and benefits us as well, there is an underlying math problem that is actually much more important than the creative problem that we tackle. So we're going to talk about this in a few different ways, and I don't want to get into the thick of a complicated formula, but what's important to know about this is that there are many stages of your marketing funnel where video can play a significant role in changing the outcomes for your business. So we're going to talk about that. And just in this diagram, we'll take you through just very briefly what this looks like. So on the audience end, this is everybody who could potentially see your brand, whether it's on social media, whether it's on YouTube, whether it's on a search engine, if it's in an ad. There's always going to be that sort of potential group of people that could come across your content and come across your brand. So that's our opportunity. That's one of the opportunities that we have. But if we don't get exposure to an audience, we're not going to be able to bring them into our funnel and effectively maximize our opportunities there. So thinking about that audience, again, it's across different social channels. It's across any place on the web where you are publishing, you have the opportunity to be seen. Now, beyond that, we want to bring people into our website. So that's what traffic is about. That's, everybody that we captivate. Maybe we have them not just on our website, but maybe they've clicked on our YouTube video and they're watching that in an engaged fashion. But from that point, we then need to turn those audience members into a lead, somebody that we can contact, call, talk to, text, however you want to do it. We need to know who they are and maybe have a little bit of information about what it is that they want before we ever have the opportunity to turn them into a buyer. So I'm going to take you through this formula in a broken down fashion so that you can understand, again, how video can affect every stage of this journey. So let's get into that. So very first thing, your awareness phase, or the impressions that you can generate from these various platforms where your audience exists. This is going to be, again, everything from your search traffic, your YouTube traffic, your social traffic, everything in any place online. Technically, any place in person could also count for this. If you're out at trade shows and you want to bring people into your digital ecosystem, definitely be thinking about ways to do that. Your click-through rate, that's going to be how many people who see your brand actually land on your content, land on your website, land on your YouTube video, click on your ads, and go to your landing pages. And then we have our conversion rate. So everybody who ends up coming into our website, comes onto our content, if we present a call to action to bring them into a conversation, that's where we have the opportunity to convert them from a visitor to a lead. And then our last two phases of this equation are lead to conversion rate, so our sales conversion rate. So how many of those people that we actually had a chance to speak to ended up becoming a customer? And beyond that, that one customer is not necessarily, it's not the end of the road with that single transaction. You have the next sale that you have with them. You have the referral opportunity that comes with these customers as well. And we want to be able to maximize that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take you through just an example scenario to help you think about how this plays out in real life. This is using some recent data from our search appearance and just organic search. So this is looking at just basic Google searches. In the last 30 days, we've seen 814,000 impressions. That doesn't mean that everybody saw our website or saw our brand. It just means that that's how many times we actually showed up in the results whenever somebody did a search. But getting there is certainly a big part of the journey, and that's part of what we're going to be talking about here as we get through this today. You can see there that conversion, that click-through rate, that 0.2% click-through rate. We don't expect that to be much higher than 0.1%, generally speaking. So that brought me 1,660 visitors from that pool of traffic. And of all of those people, we converted 0.36% of those folks into a lead. So how all those people that came into the website, we were able to generate 6 actual leads. That means we knew their name, we had their email address, we could pick up the phone and call them. We had a general sense of what their needs were. Not all of these folks are a fit for us, and we're not necessarily always a fit for them. But generally speaking, a good qualified lead for us, if we stick with them for a number of years, could lead to about $500,000 in lifetime value. That's not even counting the referral opportunity that comes from serving those clients well, keeping them excited, helping them grow. And so that's what we're all about. But there are opportunities at every stage of this math problem for us to be able to improve these metrics. And we're going to kind of carry you through that. So let's talk about where we have influence and where video has the ability to impact how you're showing up online and how people that see you online are perceiving your brand. So first is the awareness phase. This is really when they're first seeing you for the very first time. They may have done a search on Google. They may be just scrolling through videos on YouTube and they saw an ad, or perhaps they were actually searching YouTube for how to do something that they need to solve in their world, and your video came up. There could be any number of ways that video is the leader into your content, into your website, into your funnel. And what we know is that video has such a profound impact on the attention, the retention, and the ability to recall a message over any other format of content. As we think about the consideration phase, where we're a little bit further along in that buyer cycle, where we're actually able to present potential options to a customer or a prospect, we also have the ability to leverage video there to maximize our outcomes and to drive greater results for every bit of opportunity that is moving through that funnel. And that's what we want to really be thinking about is if I can turn the dial up at each of these different phases, we're going to be able to drive much more success through all the campaigns and all of the productions that we're rolling out. So let's talk a little bit about why video wins. So social videos, they get a mind-blowing 12,000%, 1,200% more shares than text and image posts combined. Videos are 50 times more likely to rank on Google search than just plain text. And so again, we're seeing that happen in the search results more and more, where Google videos are, or excuse me, YouTube videos are being presented. And then another really key point here is viewers retain about 95% of the messages that they see while watching videos, but only about 10% of the content that they read. So all this stuff is, we're tracking this on a regular basis. It's changing all the time. We're seeing the trend move more toward video, and we're seeing text-based content not necessarily produce quite the same results. Does not mean that you should abandon the text-based content, but as you're thinking about the text-based content that you're producing, also be thinking about the video content that you can be producing to augment that experience for anybody who stumbles on that content. So thinking about ways that we might see video having a negative impact, or a lack of video having a negative impact. Of course, that visibility component is such an important piece of it. That's where we want to start. We want to make sure that people can see us when they're looking for solutions in the marketplace. We want to see that we have an opportunity to be in front of people before they ever become aware of a problem that they have. So that brand presence is so important. At that consideration phase, we can accelerate the trust building process. So before anybody ever makes a decision, they need to feel safe and comfortable. Beyond that, they need to feel excited or really confident that the decision that they're about to make is going to be the right one for them. Video does a much better job at creating those sort of emotional responses as people consume our content, because we can speak to them just like I'm speaking to you today. And on the decision phase, we can reduce friction and uncertainty by producing the right type of content to the audience and delivering it at the right time. A few different ways that we can do that. We'll talk about some of the tactics here a little bit later in the presentation. But just keep in mind that the math problem is the real driver of this. And when we think about it through that lens, we recognize that, again, video can be a driver, but there are other levers that we have to be able to improve those metrics as you move along that funnel. So let's talk a little bit about the changing awareness landscape. So what this really breaks down is the fact that we're all consuming information in different ways. As AI has begun to scrape the internet for information, and some publishers are not really crazy about that, or some authors are not really crazy about that. We see more authors going to private platforms like Substack or Medium, or any of these Patreons, the things that allow us to potentially earn subscriber dollars from our audience. So those pieces of content are now moving behind paywalls. That's a change in the landscape for awareness. We also see the advent of these new tools like Perplexity and ChatGPT are big drivers of a shift away from Google for just general web search. And that's another thing that is something that we're responding to as we see that volume of traffic coming into the sites that we manage grow from those various platforms. We also have, Reddit has been growing in popularity. X continues to be a platform that people enjoy, and TikTok is just as popular as ever. So leveraging these tools is obviously going to be to our benefit, but video can play a role in every single one of these tools, and it can elevate your presence and your awareness in every single one of these tools. And they can all be tied together in a way that benefits you at the end of the day with regard to search and AI. So just briefly, I want to touch on sort of what this funnel looks like, this buyer stages look like across the board. And what you can see is that as we think about each of these stages, as we think about the awareness phase, one of the biggest tasks that we need to take on is really putting ourselves in the shoes of the customer and saying, what are they thinking? What are they feeling? What are they anxious about? What are they asking about? And how do we meet those people where they are at that moment with the right content? So that could be blog articles or testimonials or case studies or how-to videos. It could be any number of things, but one of the pieces of content that we have in our arsenal to present to people at this stage and at every stage is video. And while it can certainly be an undertaking to create video for all buyers, for all stages, for all scenarios, thinking strategically about how to capture video so that you can meet people at all these phases, at least from a broad perspective, so that you have that presence, is going to be really important. So we'll talk a little bit about different types of videos and how you can leverage those in your marketing. So at the top of the funnel, at the awareness phase, some of the types of videos that you might expect to leverage are going to be your brand story video. Perhaps you're going to bring in your founder or some key team members to introduce themselves and talk about their expertise. You may be looking to create some educational videos to be able to give people that assistance that they need to help them make decisions, to feel safe and comfortable, and to know what they need to know about the product or the solution before they make a decision. In the middle of the funnel, we have, and this is just a sample. Certainly, there are many more types of videos that you can leverage, but we have explainer videos, we have product and service demos, we have frequently asked question videos, and those are incredibly valuable. We will certainly share a case study on that a little bit later in this presentation. And at the bottom of the funnel, where we're really thinking about how we close the sale, sales enablement videos can be very effective. So answering objections and making sure that you have content out there that addresses concerns that you know people have. If you have a high ticket item like we do, it's really important that you acknowledge those concerns and meet people where they are. Testimonial videos, client interviews, those are going to be really important also for building trust. That peer validation is going to take you a long way. And some of these things can be, really strategized for every stage of the funnel. So as you think about cross-funnel assets, obviously ads are going to be an opportunity for us to get in front of people, maybe when they're not quite looking yet, or maybe right at the moment that they are looking. We have the opportunity to inject trailers and various video elements to re-engage people who have engaged with our content. And then every time you conduct an event, whether it is virtual like this, or if it is in person, capturing video so that you can repurpose that later on is going to offer a tremendous amount of value. You can never have enough footage in your library. And I know that I'm moving through these slides pretty quickly. So please, if you have any questions, don't hesitate to put those in the comments. Okay, so moving on, let's talk a little bit about some tactics that you can use. So these are going to be things that aren't necessarily paired together, but just to try to condense it down a little bit, we did. So message and positioning. So this is really key, because as we think about the challenge with AI, and I'm not intending to speak so much about AI today as much as I am about video, but when we think about AI, one of the things that we know is that it's consumed all of the written content on the internet. With that said, it's waiting for new content to be published to be able to get more context, to be able to answer questions, and to be able to meet the needs of its users that are evolving every single day. So when we move beyond that and we recognize that the next frontier for AI is to consume the transcripts of videos and to actually see the contents of those videos, listen to podcasts and capture all that information, that is the next frontier for AI, but that becomes the next frontier for us as well. So when we think about the videos that we're going to record and put online, having a really solid grasp on the message that we want to present to our audience before we record is really critical, because every single word that you speak in a video is going to get picked up by AI, and it's going to either benefit you or it's going to have a null impact. It could potentially have a negative impact if that content sentiment is negative. So be mindful of how you speak about yourself, how you speak about your brand. It is beneficial to say something like Exponent 21 is a leading SEO provider in Richmond. That context is going to be helpful for anybody who's searching for great SEO companies in Richmond. If we don't say it, if we don't inject it, it doesn't have an opportunity to have a presence in that knowledge graph. Section videos are another great tactic that you can leverage to be able to turn a single shoot into many, many assets that can be repurposed over time. And then cross-channel intentionality. So being mindful of how you capture video, the different angles that you use, the editing techniques, all of those things are going to be critical for you to think about how you take a video and put it on the top of a blog article or put it onto a mobile phone on an Instagram or a TikTok reel. So there's going to be the need to be able to reformat content later. So make sure that you're planning ahead of time to make sure you have everything that you need. When it comes to the content of your video, there are a number of things that you can do to make sure that you captivate your audience. Strategic hooks are really critical for you getting somebody's attention in the first couple of seconds of that video. People, unfortunately, our attention span has really declined as we have become addicted to scrolling on these platforms. And so it's really important that we leverage those first couple of seconds to get their attention. And then relating to the audience that's watching, whoever it is that's on the other side of that device, we want to make sure that we connect with them in a way that they can appreciate and understand. So asking strategic questions is another really great tactic that you can leverage to be able to connect with somebody and to position the conversation so that they understand what they should be thinking about as you go into explaining what you're going to explain. And then when you get on the other side of that, of course, that video content's incredibly valuable. So you want to be thinking about what you're going to put out there, how you edit that video, what the context is, what the description is, what keywords you're going to put into that YouTube description, so that when somebody does search online, it's not just the transcript of it that can be seen, but all the ways that you've chosen to describe that video. Some other video tactics to keep in mind. So strategic on-camera talent. So be mindful of who it is that you're putting behind the camera. You want to have leaders who obviously are going to be around for a while because you want that video to have shelf life. Perhaps it's your sales leaders who are interacting with customers. Maybe it's your customer service representatives that you want to put in those videos so that it is synonymous with the experience that your customers are going to have interacting with your business. And then shot for repurposing. Again, it's thinking about where it's going to go after the fact, making sure that you're inserting things like strategic pauses so that a caption can be placed next to your image or your face in that video for a social clip, or making sure that you have enough space in your angle so that you can crop it down later, and maybe make sure that your face isn't covered up by the pill on somebody's iPhone when they're watching that video. There's so many more tactics that you can leverage, and I would encourage you to search Google or use ChatGPT to think about this. When you start thinking about how you want to go to market, it's going to be a little bit easier to really get tactical and think about how you can maximize the potential of your shoots. So now I want to talk about the video first system. So I've got a few different scenarios that we've put together here to help you think about how you might do this for your business. And the reason why this matters is because, again, it's about maximizing the amount of content, the assets that you can produce from a single shoot. And then everything that you're going to do when you produce this content is going to be about how do we make sure that we're aligning with artificial intelligence systems, but also how we're speaking to people in the real world so that we can connect with them, ensure that we're remembered, and that the message is recalled when they have a need to recall that message. All these tactics are going to boost our placement in search results. It's going to boost our placement in YouTube results. And when we get really good at producing video, when we get great at the content, it's going to have a bigger impact on your social media feeds as well, because video is a big friend of the algorithm. Many, many more benefits associated with a video first system, but let's go ahead and talk about what it could mean for your business. So this is a case study from a client of ours who represents 3M window film and 3M wrap products. So this is an automotive product called 2080 wrap film. And this product will change the color of a car without paint, without damage to the paint. It can be removed. It's a really wonderful product for auto enthusiasts. Our client wanted to get more visibility in this space, and we devised a strategy to shoot a series of frequently asked questions videos. And that was ultimately content that could be repurposed across a whole host of platforms and uses. So it was ultimately used on their YouTube channel. It was used to augment their frequently asked questions. It was used in advertisements, and it has been used in a number of client sales enablement activities since that was produced. But just looking at the amount of visibility and the impact that just the videos had with this particular case, we've been able to achieve rankings for this video and for this client in AI overviews and featured snippets, in organic search results, and in video carousels across various search platforms. So, very, very key in getting that early visibility, that early awareness when somebody is conducting a search or engaged in an activity online. Having that content is your first step. From a perspective of the actual impact that it had on true visibility, those videos to date have seen 2.1 million impressions, and they have resulted in over 10,000 organic clicks into the website. 3,500 video plays across that body of content, and we're now seeing really high performance across search platforms, whether it be Google, YouTube, you name it. And we're continuing to see those results as it self-reinforces. So one of the things that we really enjoy about this strategy is that as AI begins to refer that content more and more, and other people use AI to produce new content, it's very likely that that citation will end up in those articles that they write, linking back to your video, linking back to your content, further emphasizing and reinforcing where you show up in search results. So let's talk about a few different examples of how you can do this and some starting points. So the very first one is the model that we just talked about, the frequently asked questions series. That is really thinking deeply about a core product or solution that you offer and breaking down those questions that people have before they ever get to thinking about your brand. So those frequently asked questions aren't how much does it cost working with you, or what does the process look like working with you? It's going to be more broad, like what does it cost to do this? Or what is generally the process? So trying to answer those broader questions that people have before they ever get exposure to your brand is what the point of this is. And that's going to be how we can be found when people are asking those questions of search engines and AI tools. Video podcasts are another really, really tremendous vehicle, because a podcast can be as short or as long as you want it to be. But the longer, the better, because it gives you the opportunity to inject an abundance of rich text in conversational tone into that content for publishing and consumption by AI algorithms. So giving us the ability to further expand on our reach by breaking that into smaller sections, putting it on social, turning it into ads, putting it in emails, the potential is endless. A couple of more tactical approaches. This particular webinar is very much an example of this. What we'll do with this footage is, obviously you'll be able to download this and watch it in full, but we'll be able to clip out sections from this and repurpose it for social media. We'll be able to take sections of this and put it on our website to reinforce some of the blog content that we've already produced on this subject. And we'll look for those opportunities and have no shortage of small clips and repurposable assets to publish online. And then speaking about brand, we talked about this a little bit earlier in the presentation. Obviously, having the ability to put people on camera, people connect with people, that's such a critical component of this. Please don't ever shoot video without actually putting people in it. But this is the real foundation of what we want to communicate with people. So as you think about the positioning and that messaging that you've baked, this is the starting point. This is the place where that video might exist on your homepage. It might be the cover video on your YouTube channel. It might be something that you share on social a number of times to make sure that that message is reinforced. So this is just a handful of approaches that you can take. These shoots might take a few hours to conduct, certainly more than that to edit, but you can be in market with content really quickly with these approaches, and you don't have to produce the entire asset ecosystem before you start publishing. You can create one video, get it out there, get your face out there, get your voice out there, get your name out there, and then go back to the editing table and create more. Okay, so I promised you guys a bonus, and this is it. So this isn't all about video, but it's about people. So one of the things that we have learned and have leveraged with success a number of times over the years is being quick to call back. So a lot of leads are going to come in through your website, and the sooner you get back with them, the higher your close rate is going to be. So the answer to this is 350 times faster. So or 350 times better. So if you call somebody within 60 seconds of them submitting a web form, you're going to be able to increase that close rate by 350% over calling them back within 24 hours. So that speed is really key. There's some really great tools out there that can call your phone, text your phone, send you an email whenever those opportunities come along. Don't wait. Get back in touch with those people as soon as possible. One thing that you can also do to really increase your success in the sales funnel is to send personalized Loom videos. I do this for my clients every single time I speak to somebody new, and we use it constantly within our business to communicate with amongst each other, as well as nuanced information to our clients if we can't connect with them in a Zoom call. So Loom is a really wonderful tool. It gives you some analytics. It gives you the ability to know when somebody's watched the video. Those are all really valuable things to have those insights as you're working to close a deal. And then the last thing, we mentioned this a little bit earlier, but I'm just going to emphasize this again because it's so important. When you know that price is a barrier, or when you know that perhaps a lack of understanding on a subject might be a barrier for somebody to say yes to an opportunity, taking the time to think about those questions and barriers and producing content that's going to respond to them, in having that at the ready is going to be incredibly valuable for you, because you can send those videos in an email. They can be baked into your content. They can be shared on your social media, and you never know where somebody is about to make a decision, but they're just not comfortable enough yet to do it. So those can be a really big boost in your presence. So here's the next step. I've got a couple of things left here for you guys, and then we'll take some questions before we wrap up. But we are opening up a 1-hour consultation window with me. You will be able to use this link or scan this QR code to be able to book that call. We're only taking a few clients each quarter for our new video services. So please book that as soon as you can. I've got some travel coming up. I want to get you on my calendar as soon as I can. But here's what you're going to get. So we know that SEO is so important today, because if you're not found when people search, you don't have an opportunity to win that business. So the very first thing that I'm going to include in this is a very detailed SEO report on your website from end to end. We're also going to talk about a high-level strategic content roadmap so that you can be thinking about how some of these tactics and strategies can be applied in your business. We'll also talk about a video opportunity map that specifically talks about how you can take a video-first strategy and turn that into more strategic content on the back end to fill your funnel and to improve your sales enablement. And then we will also go through all the details about how we work with clients on a project basis or a retainer basis to deliver services from brand and website to video and ongoing optimization of your content, so that you can compete in this highly competitive world and win the attention war. So that's it. I am at a wrap here. I'm going to give it over to you guys to ask questions, and my team is here to present them on the slides as we get in there. I saw some of my friends were in here from AI Ready RVA. Hello, friends. Thank you for joining me today. Okay, so Kaylee, thank you for this. If a brand hasn't done any type of video content yet, where should they start? Okay, this is a great question. I was on a panel discussion last night talking to some creators, and I'm pretty sure we all agreed that our very first videos were terrible. We can expect that to be the case if we're producing it ourselves. But I think a really great place to start is be thinking about your brand video. What's the core message that you want to communicate to people who are coming to your website or coming across your brand for the very first time? How do you make sure that they know that you understand their problem and are prepared to meet them where they are? How are you going to effectively make them feel safe and comfortable? And how are you going to inform them with the right information so that they can move down the funnel into the place of being able to make a decision? I think that's a really great place to start. And again, with the right strategy, you can have a ton of assets that come out of the other side of that. Hey, Dasha, thank you so much for your feedback. I appreciate you being here today. All right. Does using AI to make scripts for video help discoverability? Yes. Okay. So I have another piece of content that you can find on exponent21.com that talks about the value of using AI to create content, as well as the pitfalls that come along with it. If you go to ChatGPT and ask it to spit out a piece of content, and you don't really give it a lot of parameters or rules, there's a very good chance that that piece of content's not going to serve your audience, and it's not going to be effective at convincing them to do anything or even believe anything about your brand that you want them to believe. However, AI is really good at following rules. So if you have established strategy and you know what needs to be in that video because you've established your positioning and your messaging, and you know that you want to achieve various strategic and tactical steps in this process, define that and go to ChatGPT and ask it, give me a script that meets all these criteria. And there's a very good chance that that piece of content will be very effective. Oh, great question, Kevin. Thank you. How long should the video be? This is a really variable question. It just depends on where that video is going to be published. Ads are generally going to be anywhere from 5 to 15 to 30 seconds. They can be longer, but generally they don't get that much engagement. If they are, social videos can tend to be less than a minute as well to meet the algorithm's sort of demand for shorter content. But as we think about engagement in video, if you have a message that may be 3 or 4 or 5 minutes, the work to be done is to make sure that at every 15 or 30 seconds, you've done something to make sure that your audience is engaged. So as we think about stepwise videos, for instance, leveraging these questions at the beginning, these strategic questions at the beginning of every segment is going to help you re-engage the audience, make sure that they know that they're aligned with what you're sharing, and they can decide for themselves. Maybe they think that it's time to drop off at that point. But be mindful that you will lose their attention if you're not actively strategizing for how you can keep it. And should that be something to take into account with the growing power of AI? Yeah, I would say that I think that one of the biggest tactics that anybody should be thinking about is a podcast. While podcast is generally an audio-based platform, you have the ability to record it with camera so that you can put it on YouTube and repurpose it into all these smaller micro pieces of content. But podcasts are really unique in that when you push a podcast out there, it goes onto YouTube, it goes on to Spotify, it goes on to Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts. The entire ecosystem shares that podcast out with the world, and you have total control over the description of the podcast, including backlinks into your website or backlinks into your social content, backlinks into your YouTube channel. And so not only do you have the ability to bring people into your space, all of these domains, Spotify.com, Apple.com, they're all incredibly valuable domains. They all are very high domain authority. So having backlinks coming into your website from these is incredibly valuable. The other aspect of podcast content is it's very conversational in nature. So when we think about AI today, we can type into ChatGPT, and generally we're going to get a typed response back that's fairly lengthy. But if we're asking it a question, if we're using advanced voice mode or we're talking to Siri, we're generally going to get a much shorter response back. And so when we think about video having the ability to inject information about our brand into the knowledge graph, that conversational content is incredibly valuable in addition to the written content that you're going to post on your website and your social media channels, because that voice search is going to produce a richer response when you give it context and conversational tone. So, be thinking about who you want to bring on your podcast. Maybe you have people on your team that you're conversing with to keep the content centered around what you offer. Maybe you're leveraging a podcast or a webinar or some of these other formats as a part of your sales engine, like I am here today. I've asked you guys to join me in a complimentary consultation. You're going to get a tremendous amount of value out of that consultation, but I'm also going to have the opportunity to speak to you about whether or not we could work together to produce real tangible value for your business and for mine. And podcasts can do the same thing. When you invite a prospect onto a podcast, you have the potential to influence them in that conversation and win their business potentially as a result of it. Connie. Hey, Connie, thank you for joining us. Is there ever too many videos? I would say no, but you will always be mindful of the algorithm's rules on social media. If I post one video today or I post 3 videos today, chances are it's not going to help me to post more. One video a day is about probably the most that you want to post, and you don't want to trample on any previous posts by overposting text posts or image posts on top of that. But there are never too many videos. Certainly having those things in an evergreen space like YouTube is going to help you because, again, it's feeding into the knowledge graph every time somebody conducts a search, whether or not you're resharing it to your social feed. We've got a couple of minutes left, so I'll take a few more questions. Hey, Ash, thanks for joining us today. What's more important when making videos, quality or consistency? That's a really good question. I would say, well, first of all, is being there. If you don't shoot your first video, you don't have a presence. And so You will sacrifice quality putting your first video out there, especially if you record it yourself, but do not let that discourage you. Human connection matters more than anything. And so by me talking to you right now and having this exchange, we're connecting, we're able to do that. But I'm talking to you, Ash. But when I record a video, I'm thinking about the people that I'm talking to, and I'm trying to create that emotional connection with them when they're viewing my video, even though they can't talk back to me. So I think, getting out there and being consistent is probably more important than quality. But as you watch back and see your videos and see the performance in the analytics, you should be looking for opportunities to improve those videos over time to meet both your style, your timeline, the resources that you have available to you, but also working to improve the metrics so that more people are engaged with your videos, they watch them longer, and they take the types of actions that are going to ultimately result in your business growing. Okay, do you ever recommend using deepfake AI generated avatars to make content about your brand? Okay, so right now, actively going on is the Big Dipper Summit here in Richmond. And some of the promotional videos that they used for that event actually included an AI avatar. I don't know that anybody would have looked at that and said, that's a real person. But we are all exposed to this world of AI, and we have the ability to inject information into the knowledge graph as we are pushing that content out there. So definitely, it's not a bad thing, but it maybe being transparent about it, maybe having some fun with it, making sure that people know that it's AI and you're not trying to pull one over on them is going to help you out in how that comes across. I do believe that we're still at this place where some people have a negative view of AI. Certainly creatives are not a big fan of AI generated content, especially when you can see it. I do think that there is an impact on your brand with that, but I don't think that it's necessarily going to hurt you, especially if you're starting from zero. All right, I've got one more question here. Courtney, thank you. Is posting videos on socials impactful enough on its own, or do you need to be on YouTube, website, etc.? Some video is better than no video, but if you're going to take the time to shoot video for your social media feed, you might as well put it on YouTube and your website as well. It is going to influence people that see it. So if I'm reading a blog article that doesn't have a video, obviously I'm only going to be exposed to that text content and nothing else is going to influence what I think or feel. But if there's a video there, I have the choice to watch it. And if I do watch it, no matter how much, I have the potential to be influenced by that in addition to reading the content. So YouTube is probably one of your biggest levers in all of this, because YouTube is, again, a high value domain. You have the ability to put a very lengthy description in a YouTube video, and you have the ability to backlink into your website and other social content all throughout that. There's no limit on how many links you can insert. So really great questions here today. And as we wrap up, I'm just going to pop back onto my slides here so that you guys can get this QR code. If you would like to book an hour with me, I do have some slots open here in the next 2 weeks or so. I hope to see you soon. And thank you so much for joining me on this webinar. It's been a ton of fun. I hope you learned something. I learn something every time I do one of these, and it was great to see all of you. Thank you so much.